my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Nuclear Heatwave Wrestling Podcast, brought to you by Mafia Sports Report. I am Dr. Love, and this is Sauce Bronson.
What's going on, y'all?
How's it going, everybody? So we have a little bit to talk about this week, and we decided to come up with a couple different things to talk about. And one big thing, obviously, with wrestling, we like to cover all kinds of wrestling. So last week there was the AEW show, the House of the Dragons, which, regardless of if you're a Game of Thrones fan, there was a tie-in with that. Forget all about that. The main thing was the Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, versus Daniel Garcia. 2 out of 3 falls match. With, of course, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat as a special guest referee. So, I guess they couldn't get Ultimo Dragon Sauce. I guess they couldn't get him. That would have been probably made it perfect, I feel.
I think his email got lost in the mail somewhere.
I think so. But it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. And I was pleasantly surprised, except I just feel with All Out around the corner, they kind of just maybe a little bit of wasted opportunity. This could have been on that pay-per-view, but I don't know. What did you think, Sauce?
I mean, for the most part, good wrestling is good wrestling. Of course, you want it on the pay-per-view. You want people to pay for it, if you could. But that's why we also have cable. But for the most part, I wasn't mad at it. As far as a decision, well, that's the thing also too with AEW, because they only have 4 pay-per-views. Throughout the year versus, WWE's where they have like 16, God knows however many they have now. But so
they treat those like weekly ones sometimes as like a mini pay-per-view. I get that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So as far as with this whole, what you want to call it? I almost said premium live event. But what I want to say with this AEW event, but as far as what's going on with there, I wasn't mad at it. Every once in a while, because Raw and SmackDown, sometimes they give big blockbuster matches, that that you don't see on pay-per-views, but also usually it's something that they wasn't able to put on a pay-per-view, or it was a match where it had nothing to do with storyline. It was just 2 people getting together. So, but going back to as far as AEW with Bryan Danielson or whatnot, I wasn't mad at it. Wasn't bad decisions, good match, and it's all good. And yes, I'm also one of those people that I tried to get on the Game of Thrones train. Definitely fell off by season 5. I watched part of that new Dragon show the other day. I had a couple friends over, so they wanted to watch it. And yeah, I was like halfway paying attention to it.
You're kind of like, okay, not my cup of tea. I mean, I just, we've talked about it before, and it's not for everyone. I didn't watch it until I got with my fiance, and then she said, "You got to watch this show." So then we ended up watching, and then I liked the show. But overall, though, the rest of the show was pretty good. There was some good points here and there because everyone's getting ready for these pay-per-views at the end of the month. I say in the month, I think next weekend, right? So there's a lot of stuff coming up, and they're kind of building up towards that. And it's kind of crazy because, everything kind of has a theme. If you think about it, like you have AEW All Out on the 4th, but on the 3rd, you have WWE Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, which I feel like that's going to be one of the hottest crowds we're going to see at a show. I think it's going to be. So, but then also they announced last week that the NXT UK is going to be suspended, or on hiatus, whatever. And then they're going to, have the Worlds Collide show on the 4th at 4:00. So literally like 3 hours or 4 hours before AEW's All Out show. So lots of wrestling, and that's gonna be a big deal. But what made me think about a good topic when me and Sauce were kind of talking was with the Cardiff show, and then also at the Worlds Collide and the UK brand, stopping. We just kind of thought, look at European wrestlers in general, whether from all the different companies and whatnot. So we wanted to kind of talk about that, and right off the bat, one thing people will remember is just because it's there is the WWF, WWE, European Championship, and it was a good idea at the time because they were trying to do some stuff over in Europe, and they did do, they had some shows over there. They had like Rebellion, Insurrection, yep. And I remember it was a big deal. It was kind of cool, But what was your thoughts on like the European Championship in WWE? So.
Oh yeah. So before I get rolling with all the stuff that's in my brain, just want to give a shout out to Jay Stone. Said, "What's up, guys? Hey, Jay Stone, appreciate you for coming on by, stopping on by.
What's up, Jay Stone?
Just to see two guys from Michigan, blabbling about wrestling. So, once again, appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
And then as far as so when it comes to European Championship belt, obviously it was like the little brother belt to the Intercontinental. That's the best way I describe it. But I mean, it was definitely some entertaining people that that held the strap for a moment. So, I mean, we had guys like may rest in peace, Crash Holly. We had Spike Dudley, Mark Henry. It was almost like it gave them something to do, because if you had that belt, it wasn't like you was really being ready to get pushed to the next level. It was almost like it was something to do.
Pretty much, because you got to remember at that time, it was the Intercontinental Championship was more prestigious before it kind of went downhill within that next few years. Yeah. But if you had the Intercontinental Championship, I mean, you were getting pushed pretty good. Not everybody, of course, but you were getting a good push. So yeah, I agree with that for sure. Like if you were a European Championship champion, they kind of gave it to you. Either you worked hard for it, or then they kind of had the like the little storylines here. Shane McMahon becoming it, and then I'm going to retire as an undefeated champion. But yeah, I mean, obviously with its first champion, the British Bulldog, it really, I think it was like Taylor. It was made for him.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, here you go. You're gonna get this championship, and and I wasn't mad at it, because remember Owen Hart was in the tournament, so was Bret Hart, Rocky Maivia. Rock, he was in the tournament. They had some, interesting people in that tournament, but I think that was always set up for Bulldog. They're like, you know what, we're gonna give it to you. So, but now with that being said, European champions. What would you say is your no specific order unless you do have one, but like your favorites? Like what would you say is like your top, like maybe like top 3 or however you want to favorites?
Oh yeah. So my question is, do you want me to just do all 3 at once, or are we just going? Are we going
back and forth? Yeah. For this one, we'll just do them all at once, and then kind of.
Okay. So I'll keep it as brief as I can. So my top 3, I would probably go Bulldog. Because, I mean, some people think he was made for the belt, but my number 1 was made for that belt that I'm getting to in a minute. But as far as with Bulldog, I mean, Bulldog's a legend. Whether he had the IC belt, the European belt, hell, even if he had on a brown belt, I mean, my man was on point. So at that point, too, because he had a whole different gimmick change. At this point, he wrestled in the jeans. He lost braids. So having that belt on him, I think, at least it kept him relevant for the time being through the Attitude Era. And then we'll go over to number 2, which is Papa Kurt. Good old Kurt Angle, Papa Kurt. He had the belt on him. He got the belt. Mind you, he got this in his rookie year.
Yep. Yeah.
So once he got that, and then that pretty much was like the bridge for more as far as what he was going to accomplish within that first year. Because it started with the European belt, then you got the IC belt, and then he eventually, kicked the ring, and eventually you got the belt, the WWF champion at that point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, as far as Papa Kurt, he's always my number 1 wrestler. But But yeah, he's not number one when it comes to the European champ. But I would say my top European champ is good old William Regal. Good old Regal. That belt was made for him.
Oh,
Either
absolutely.
way,
I agree 100% on that.
Now, mind you, the other two guys, they only had like one time reign. Regal actually had 4 reigns. He's a 4-time champ.
4-time champion. Yes, he
Yeah,
was.
and that belt was made for him. Like I feel like that belt actually did him some favors as far as I mean, obviously his smug gimmick was definitely over. Duke could wrestle. Basically, he was like Damien Sandow before Damien Sandow. So, but when it came to that belt, I mean, at that point he had the belt for so long and so much. It was like if anybody else had it, it was like okay, yeah, they won it. But yeah, when is Regal getting it back? When is he going to get it? So.
No, I like it. And I'll tell you right now, the lists are going to be very similar. So for me, at least. So I definitely have to agree with you when it comes to William Regal. My list is getting a little bit not so 1, 2, 3, however, but Regal for sure. I mean, ever since I've watched him in WCW as a Steven Regal gimmick, and then he came over, and then he came over to WWE. William Regal, and then that very small stint as real man's man for some bizarre reason. But even then, he made it work, But still, when he became his William Regals, from Blackpool, England, and it was just great. It was just he made everyone look good, and when he fought them,
Except Goldberg.
I literally was going to say it, but that's true. That's very. Oh gosh. Oh Lord.
Well, that was a weird situation. But that was a weird situation though, because it's like Goldberg, this guy, walking in, green as hell, and you put him up against a technical stud like Regal, and yeah, it was like a recipe for disaster for that particular match.
Oh yeah, exactly. But since we talked about him already a little bit, how about I'll tell you right off now, I'd say if I had to say a second one, I love Kurt. Don't get me wrong, I love Kurt for sure. So, but just going with somebody else on this, I'm going to have to say that D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown. I always thought he looked good with the belt too. He's always that good secondary, tertiary wrestler, like we were talking about. Give it to a guy that's worked good. And he also 4-time champion. So D'Lo and William Regal have the most reigns for the European Championship. So yeah, and kind of rounding it out there at the end, I would say just another one I liked was I have to say Bulldog, just because it worked for him. He didn't get the push for like the world title or anything like that. So having that,
shame.
It is a shame. Yeah. But it's crazy because with our list, we just said, obviously we mentioned already about Kurt Angle with the Intercontinental title, so you have the Euro champions, Euro Continental Championship, which there were 3. There were 3 of them. There was D'Lo Brown, and then Jeff Jarrett, believe it or not, for 1 day, Jeff Jarrett, and then of course Kurt Angle. So those are the only 3 in history of the Euro Continental Champions.
And my favorite part about what also makes Angle the best Euro Continental Champion was the fact that he lost them both at WrestleMania 16 and didn't even get pinned.
And yeah, he did exactly. He didn't get pinned for either belt. So. Nope. I mean, that's the craziest part. So you lose both belts, but that's what makes you get over good. Like, you're not going to lose momentum. And what's crazy about that is that Jericho won the European title and lost it a day later. He didn't even had it for a day. So it's like.
Yeah. So for those who didn't remember or didn't know, so at WrestleMania 16, was it called 2000?
2000.
At that point, Kurt Angle came in with both belts. I believe. So the European, so I believe Jericho won the European by pinning Canada Man, and then eventually Canada Man pinned Jericho, get the Intercontinental. So at that point, it was like Kurt Angle just walked to the casino and just lost all his money and didn't even like push the button for the slots. He sat down at the slot table and just lost all his money. That's basically what that was equivalent to. But as far as
oh yeah,
because a lot of people don't know. Like it's funny you mentioned D'Lo Brown because like he had one of the cool looking finishers with Sky High, but his interest always coming down. Coming down the ramp, I would do the neck jerk, but that almost pretty
yeah. I think I'd lose the headset a little bit.
I might mess around, get carpal tunnel on my neck. But as far as but I will say though, like earlier, as far as when it comes to European strap, I said it was a belt that it gave mid Carter something to do, but for some, it actually made him look better. So guys like D'Lo definitely was a help towards as far as building his resume. Like I said, Angle when he first started helped build his resume for a minute. Rigo, I mean, made Rigo go from here to definitely here, and then as far as guys like Mark Henry, it kind of it was like, okay, well this guy won a belt, so let's see what else he can do, and so on and so forth. So, and he was crazy as far as when it comes to the European champs, it was almost like a gift and a curse. It was like if you won a European belt, it was like, yeah, you was the only way to the Intercontinental belt. You might about to get elevated, but also if you won the belt, it's like, okay, that's your best championship, and you go be a future endeavor in about 6 months. So it's all about how you look at it.
Oh my gosh, yep. I mean that's pretty true, especially when they kind of were throwing the belt around that different wrestlers that maybe not deserved it, and even later on at the end of its cycle, same thing. Yeah. So I'm with you on that for sure.
Let's say, do you remember the wasn't it RVD and Jeff Hardy when they had the undisputed European Championship?
Yeah, that was that title unification match, yep. And it was actually a pretty good match because those guys they had great matches. Hardcore title match, that unification match. So then when the belts were unified, then they're like, we're done with it, Yep. But even then, that was when they started unifying all the belts. Like for some reason, they unified the Intercontinental title, and that was weird. And then they just brought it back anyways, Yeah. But yeah, that was a weird year right there, 2002. I'm not sure, but yeah. So talk about the European Championship. Like it was retired in 2002, and there was always rumors back and forth for years that they were going to bring it back, and and then years go by, and then the NXT brand splinters and makes the UK brand. So they thought we're going to bring it back, and they didn't bring it back, but they had something better. They had their own championships, their world title, their women's title, tag team titles, and that's much better. It's a much better thing to do it that way. But finding out about the news last week that it was going to be they were letting go a lot of wrestlers from that UK brand, but it was mainly because they're going to be now repackaging it as NXT Europe, which I think it works better because you're not just talking about people from the UK. You're talking about people from France, Italy, Germany, Austria, Switzerland. Where so many great wrestlers are from. Which were that's the kind of the main idea about this specific podcast. I wanted to talk about European wrestlers throughout the years that were memorable.
So my question is. So let's say if you bring back, so you're in charge, and you bring in, you start NXT Europe. So you have opportunity to bring back the European title. So my question is either A, do you bring it back as just a European belt, make it a mid-card belt, or B, do you rebrand it as a heavyweight championship or like a main championship? Like European heavyweight championship.
Gotcha. I think how I would do it is I would do it as how the Intercontinental Championship is here. I would have it as that main secondary title. NXT has their all North American title.
Yeah.
It would be like that version for the Europe brand. That's how, because the world title make its own thing to make this, it would work really nice. I think really the main problem, that the reason why they won't bring back that specific belt is really the design. It's it's a J-Mar design, who used to design many classic belts, including the Winged Eagle, the Intercontinental title. So, and they're not using those belts anymore.
they can make a new one.
Yeah, it's really just the name. It's more name and spirit.
I'm just saying, just hear me out. Just bring back the belt and just put big giant outline of Europe just on the thing. And it says champ. There you go.
There you go. You know what? It'll work.
There you go. Stephanie Nick Khan, book it. There you go. That's your belt right there.
Book it. Oh, that'd work. That'd work.
So, further going along with as far as the topic of the European Championships. So, as I was doing a little bit of homework, and I found out that actually it's a couple guys that actually have some pretty good lengthy reigns as far as with the European belt. So, you want to hear the top three?
Give it to me.
So, start off with third. Triple H had 149 days.
All right, all right.
So that's number three.
Okay.
Then number two, Papa Regal with 173. And then I'll just give you a guess who the number one is.
Number one, let's see.
And it's crazy because he only had one reign.
Oh, well, that actually helps. I will say with one reign, it was. Man, it could be a lot. Shane McMahon.
No, that would have been good though. That would have been actually it was Bulldog. He had 249 days.
Oh, as the inaugural champion. Okay.
Yeah. So when he got the belt, so it goes back to what you were saying earlier, like the belt was made for him.
Mm-hmm.
So you held the belt for almost almost a year. Yeah. Of course, at that point, I feel like it's made for you because, when you carry it that long.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, that makes sense. And I believe, too, at that time that they were like defending the belt at those European shows mostly before, and then they started just doing it at the regular Raws at that point. So they were kind of like really just pushing those European shows, which was a good thing. Yeah. And they kind of just stopped, for a while. They didn't really do it that much anymore. So
before I give my next thought, Jay Stone, shout out to him. He says Triple H's new golden title, WWE over everyone. So, which is I understand what he's saying, but me personally, because of wrestling, I know some people are gonna be WWE boys, you got AEW boys, Impact boys, but you like who you like. But overall, I just want with Triple H take over to help Tony Khan step his game up, to help everybody else step their game up. So, but once again, shout out to you, Jay Stone. Hey, WWE for life. I get it.
Yep. For life.
But yeah, as far as I'm surprised because Regal had 4 reigns, but it was only like 173. But yeah, so
yeah. No, I completely get you on that. So, but yeah, so going with the whole kind of topic that we were going with the European Championship and just European wrestlers, I did some research. Sauce did some research as well, and we were just about our favorite European wrestlers, whether they're older, current, whatnot, and we want to kind of share them with you guys and see what your thoughts are. Like if you have any like the same. You have different opinion, we want to hear it. So what do you got, Sauce? We'll do kind of a back and forth on this one, since we don't have like top 10, top 5, what I mean? Just kind of go back and forth on it. So
gotcha. So I'm gonna start off with this one. He's one that everyone loves. Yeah, especially for the past 10 years. Hopefully now that Triple H is in charge of creative, he starts to get a little bit more shine. And get back to, the promised land that he once had. And that's Mr. Finn Balor. the reason why, because I only, obviously I'm just picking 5, but I feel like obviously people know, he's an awesome wrestler, great demon gimmick and whatnot, and dude's a crazy workhorse. The guy probably has, more body fat than a piece of church's chicken. Um, at that point, and also the thing that really the reason why he makes my number 5 is he was the originator of one of the biggest wrestling groups post Attitude Era, which was the Bullet Club.
Yes.
So once again, not only he's a good wrestler and all, but just his influence on that group, and see what it is today. Like obviously, he doesn't rock with it no more for obvious reasons, but but in other promotions, they're still going, like to this day, they're still, the wrestlers are still repping it. Do Japan still going with it, and then you see go sprinkle AEW. Fans are still rocking the shirts. So it's almost like
I have several myself. So yeah.
So with that, with the Bullet Club, it's like the modern day, NWO. As far as shirts go.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, I like that for sure. And to kind of go on, piggyback on that.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a wrestler that came to NXT, and normally they don't usually get a good, like the NXT name generator. Normally, you don't usually get like a good name. Yeah. He got a pretty good name. He was, he had Prince Devitt, and then New Japan. He gets Finn Balor, and that works. I mean, it rolls off the tongue, and it sounds good. And then he has one of the coolest gimmicks, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have your split personality, the demon, and then even with your regular gimmick, it works. Music, great theme music.
And also,
it all worked. It all worked very well.
Oh yeah, and also with and also the reason why he makes it in my top 5 is because, like me, he also has a passion for Legos. Yep.
See, I didn't know that. That's a nice tidbit right there. Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
But overall, yeah, I think he's been, people don't realize it, but he's been one of the more influential wrestlers of this past decade, or at least last past 10 years. But now
I agree with that.
So Doc, what you got for us?
So I went with somebody that I've seen him wrestling for a while, several years back in WCW days. Then he came to WWF, and not only was his wrestling influential, but it was just his backstage presence and training abilities, and that it's got to be my man Fit Finlay. Fit Finlay is another one that's like, if you get Fit Finlay and William Regal in a street fight, man, I don't want to be in the middle of that. Because you know what I'm saying? So he did so much good work in WCW, but he was a guy that was never going to be a world champion. Near the end of WCW, they started doing like a hardcore championship, kind of mimicking the WWF. Mm-hmm. But besides that, his actual wrestling ability was on point. It was just on point. So now, fast forward, he goes to the WWF, WWE, and he, he's a backstage guy, but he was the one that was the main person to train the women wrestlers, Trish Stratus, any of those that during that time, he was the trainer. He was the one that got them actually to be able to wrestle properly, not the little, gimmick matches. I mean, that's where that first women's revolution, they kind of talk about that nowadays. That's when it happened. And if it wasn't for Fit Finlay, it wouldn't have happened. So when, we know that because we're wrestling fans, but a lot of people didn't know that. And then he was still in good shape. He ends up going up into the main roster. Wrestling had a pretty cool, theme music, cool gimmick. And he was there for a while. He was even in the Money in the Bank match. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say, Fit Finlay. I was always a fan. When they got Hornswoggle, I kind of was like, I went a little downhill, but McMahon's son, of course, right? We got
McMahon, and his date. Sometimes his dating thinking backfires because it was crazy. Because like Fit Finlay, obviously he was always gonna be mid card for the rest of his career, but he was like what made him good was obviously his wrestling. Even him working stiff was it was something to watch. But he also still had some character because his thing was very simple. It was my name is Fit Finley and I like to fight. That's all you needed. And he came out there.
It was great. I mean, it worked so well. And I had, well, not anymore, but I had one of his shirt, and it was perfect. Finley, I love the fight. Clover, wore it everywhere. I love that shirt. So
actually, I got a story. I actually got a Fit Finley story for you. So back WrestleMania 23, back in 07, I used to work at Fairlane Mall. So normally when important people, celebrities and whatnot, when they come into town, they usually like to stay at, I think it was the Marriott that was right across the street from the mall. A lot of people stay there. And so obviously, walk in, into the mall, you see all these wrestlers, they're playing, at Bally's, doing their thing. And I remember I had just made this shirt that I was making for a WrestleMania party. And was walking around with it because I knew some wrestlers, out and about. And I walk past this women's clothing store and I see Finn Finley, and he with his lady or whatnot. I walk up to him because the guy looks just as intimidating in real life as he did on TV. And I went up to him. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He looked at me like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "Hey, I just want to ask you a question. Is it possible, sorry to interrupt you, but is it possible to do me a favor?" Yeah. What do you want? Yeah, hey, can you just sign this shirt for me? I'm a huge fan of yours. He's like, yeah, oh yeah, all right. You signed it for me, and I quickly got out the store because I wanted no smoke from Mr. Finley.
Oh man, that's crazy! I did not know that. Sauce, yeah. I did not know that. That's a cool story, man.
Yeah, the shirt is at my mom's house.
Okay.
It's in storage, but eventually one of these days I'll go there and grab it. Because actually, I got it signed by him. I believe I got signed by Matt Hardy, and I got signed by Kenny Dystra, and I want to say maybe John Morrison. That's about I think I want to say that's probably I think that's about all the. Basically, it was mostly just mid card names that was on.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get no top dog name on there, but I was just happy I got fifth. I was happy I got fifth Finley. I was good with that.
That's cool. That's cool, man. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Well, going on with that, who else you got? Who else kind of resonates with you with the European wrestlers?
Okay, so number 4, I got to go with my man Sheamus. Legend has it that he's Holly's favorite wrestler, and Holly's own wrestler, and whether he is a face or a heel, I mean the man is great. And the reason why I say that, especially personality wise, it's hard for some wrestlers. Some of them, they're only good at either being a face or a heel. Now, obviously, when he came up to the main roster. He was definitely a good heel to me. And obviously he stood out because my man was whiter than vanilla ice cream, but he was just young cocky heel, and it was simple to got over, and he looked like Wendy's on steroids, and but overall, but he was like, I mean, in the end, when he turned to a face, he still made it work, and that's a hard thing to do. When you're so good as a heel, when you turn face, you end up just it don't work. But when he was a face, he kind of took the Finn Finley approach, where instead of saying, I'm Sheamus, I like to fight, he would just say, I like a good fight and a good pint, and that's all you needed.
Yeah, exactly. When we were talking about Fit Finley, I kind of was like thinking the same thing, like how Sheamus, in a sense, took that same fight gimmick and made it his own. Yeah, and it worked. It worked for him. Yeah, the fans kind of were behind him. He would do his chops or hits on the chest. They were into it. He's a guy that was at the OVW before WWE stopped using them. He's a pre FCW NXT guy.
Yep.
He was there. He did all the work. He put the work in. So
yeah, I would have loved to see him in NXT, like in Triple H version of NXT. Like he would have just.
he would have ran the floor. He would have ran the floor with most of everyone. Oh my gosh.
But
that's good.
But yeah, like his shame is like, that's the character. It's he'll be a face, and then his ring work was his own point. He found his signature spots. Over the ropes with the 10 pounds to the chest or whatnot, and like the man can, and he also had like one of the shortest victories in WrestleMania history when he came, he basically went from one side of the country to the other and kicked Daniel Bryan in the face.
Oh my!
Got the world heavyweight strap and was on his way.
He just walked away.
Yeah, and I just feel like, and then what was also great about him is, so at that point they didn't have nothing for him as far as like upper card, world heavyweight stuff. So now, they're trying to figure out what to do with him as a mid card. And one of the best things we ever got, as far as in tag team wrestling for a while was him and Cesaro. What started off as just a quick little rivalry. I think it was best out of 5 or 7 falls. Yep. And then all of a sudden they partnered together and then they just made it work. They made it work. Like it's not very often where you get 2 superstars who are normally singles wrestlers come together and just pull off a dope ass tag team, but them as the bar, they made it work. And it even
absolutely. Oh my gosh.
And like as far as I know, I want to say as far as I know with Sheamus, I don't know. Well, I want to say I think he's 1 belt away from becoming a Grand Slam champion.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that, but it makes sense because I know he's U.S. champion, Intercontinental champion, tag champion, and then WWE champion.
Okay, so he might. Okay, I couldn't remember, but because his resume, as far as just gold itself, is like he's got a hell of a resume.
Oh yeah, yes he does, and his only, I'd say, if I had to have one blemish for him, League of Nations. Sorry. Oh no. I don't really blame him though. I blame the idea that should have worked on paper and it didn't. So that's just my gripe. Yeah. Well, actually, my other gripe is this: when he came back from injury and he had mohawk and braided beard, it's like you don't have both. You can't do the mohawk, do the braids.
As stupid as he looked, the crowd gave him crap for it, but he manifested and made it work to his favor.
Oh my gosh, you're right. They did chant, "You look stupid."
Yeah, you look stupid. He went with it, and I think he kept the hairstyle for at least 3-4 years. It wasn't until he got rebranded to SmackDown when he kind of went back to his old look.
Yeah,
and also just to let y'all know, because of Sheamus, we finally got Bebop and Rocksteady on the big screen for all the turtle fans out there. So I'm just saying.
Absolutely. He was great. He was great. My man.
Doc, So Doc, I'm gonna flip it back over to you real quick for yours.
Oh, okay. Yep. Not a problem. When I was doing research and everything on the different wrestlers, I wanted to bring up a couple people that I don't want to say necessarily a favorite, but I want to say influential. And the research was on Karl Gotch. Karl Gotch was a Belgian wrestler. Now, through my research for him, this is a guy who was huge in Europe, but couldn't get over here because he was a very technical wrestler, complete technical, all that kind of stuff like that. But he was so over at parts of Europe that literally the term German suplex is mainly because of him. Right. He's really the person that kind of, and I was very intrigued by that. Because, we with wrestling fans, all these cool names for moves, we don't really know most. We know some of them. We don't know most of their origins. And when I read that, I said, well, yeah, we say German suplexes all the time. But he was categorized as using it so much that it's been assigned to him. They don't really say he came up with it, but the idea, it's called a German suplex.
Right.
So just, again, the guy, he never got over here. in the States, but in Europe he was huge. So, I would say influential for European wrestlers. I'd say Carl Gotch has got that in spades. So
Okay, yeah, I'm not mad at that. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know much about him, but anybody, hey, listen, the person who the originator of the German suplex, hey, listen, that's the top 5 European wrestler in my book, so I can't be mad at that.
yes, exactly. So what do you got? What do you got now?
Okay, so before we get to my number 3, so Mr. Dodge Life 1993, he says, "Did y'all know the Dudley Boys were actually brothers, and Reigns would lose the title of Clash and keep one keep one to Mania with Rock match. Top 4 is Taker, Austin, Cena, Rock. Also, AEW, CM Punk, and Mox. Hey, shout out to you, Dodge.
Yeah, shout out, man.
Yeah. Hey, listen. I mean, we all know the Dudley Boys actually brothers. Papa Dudley. As we know, went through the territories and sold his oats. So, I mean, what did you think? What did you think was going to happen? So, eventually they was going to find each other. They got the same dad. So, I'm just saying. I mean,
absolutely.
and then also one more. Edge might have said his retirement day for good. I'm not mad at that. He was like one of the biggest redemptions for as I also, thanks for the $1. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dodge Life 93.
But Edge, I mean, if let's say he retires next year, I'm not mad at it because at this point he's leaving on his own terms. Versus, life taking it away from, And I mean, with this, with his return, I mean, he's been killing it. Granted, yeah, the Judgment Day definitely fell flat because I don't think they got enough chance to like really, do what they wanted to do. But as far as if Edge retired tomorrow, I mean, listen, the man gave us a Canadian Destroyer, which is the greatest move in wrestling. So I mean, if he retired tomorrow, hey, listen, hey, shout out to you, Edge. Hey, you the GOAT.
Absolutely. Yeah, he had a lot of great matches when he came back. He got hurt there for a little bit, but then when he came back, he still rocked it. So yeah, he going on his own terms would be perfect, especially if he does it in Canada, which it was,
Yeah,
so go ahead.
Real quick, then before I get to my next one more for Dodge Life. He said, I think Bev told him to hang it up because his neck keeps getting overworked. I can see that. I mean, well, the good thing is when he came back, he only works a limited schedule. So, so at that point, yeah, obviously, he doesn't want to end up in a wheelchair. None of us want to see that happen. So, so on and so forth. So obviously, she's, not to get too much off subject, but this kind of reminds me of, so any of you football fans out there, if y'all watch, I think it was 09. I remember watching the Saints versus Cardinals. Kurt Warner was running. I think he threw an interception, trying to chase down the guy. The dude popped him from the side, and my man just felt like a bag of potatoes. And his wife was talking about that moment, and she said, "Yeah, it's time for you to hang it up." So, and that's kind of what his comment reminds me of. So, like I said, shout out to you, Dodge. But hey, Doc, you got any thoughts on any of these comments before we go to my number 3?
I mean, pretty much, I do like the one comment he was talking about. He put up what we call a Mount Rushmore. Looks like he put up there with Taker, Austin, Cena, and Rock.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of people talk about a Mount Rushmore of your, favorite wrestlers, and that's kind of cool. So we might have a conversation in a later date for that.
Oh yeah,
so
that's a future episode. Just heads up. Because I definitely got something to say about my Mount Rushmore.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So I think it's back to you for the next wrestler.
Okay. So number 3, I mean, Andre the Giant. I mean, can't go wrong with that. I mean, as far as, you're a wrestler. I mean, this man is literally, what was it, the eighth wonder of the world. The stories about him is endless. The guy, could definitely put on a match. I mean, yeah. I mean, for the most part, I mean, sure, he was probably more flexible than Great Khali. And
I would have to agree with that. He could actually
yeah,
move around a little bit and take
yeah,
a fall and get out, you know. So yeah.
and and he's so influential that as far as a pop culture icon, he obviously there's been other works of arts work that's been like recreated after him. Like a big one was I don't know if y'all remember this game called Final Fight, but they had they used to have like these big wrestling characters. That one of them was called Andor, and then he eventually made it to they kind of recreated him in Street Fighter 3, the second iteration, and he was at that point he what the hell was his name, Hugo. So
Hugo, that was his
yeah,
name. Yeah.
and then there was another, and because he was, but obviously he was inspired by Andre the Giant. So in certain fighting games, once again, y'all, I'm not trying to go too far off, but in fighting games, sometimes if you get certain characters, when they begin to fight, they do something special. Like Ken and Ryu, they usually bump fists, yada yada. But what was cool was there was another character in Street Fighter 3 named Alex, who they said they modeled after Hulk Hogan. So whoever picks so whenever you have Hugo and Alex together, they literally do the Hogan and Andre the Giant standoff before before y'all two fight, which I thought was always cool.
So you obviously have some wrestling fans right there
Oh
that
yeah,
programmed that. That's pretty cool.
oh yeah, Japanese folks, they love this wrestling.
Oh, they do.
But yeah, but it was it's sad. Obviously, in his life it was kind of sad. All his health health pains and stuff. But it was interesting because Big Show, he obviously he's always compared to he's always going to be compared to him for the rest of his life. But Big Show kind of saw like how Andre was as far as traveling, how it didn't work for him. So that's when I think Big Show bought some famous country singer's bus, and he decided instead of being in the car and stuff, he just be in the bus and kind of live kind of like a normal lifestyle. And I always think to myself, like, imagine if Andre were to do the same thing. Hell, even if he had an RV, something to kind of help him preserve his life a little bit longer. But as far as like I said, number three, I mean, the man speaks for himself. I mean, you got. I'm sure. I'm sure y'all grandkids today probably know who Andre the Giant is.
Yeah, the
Just
name is it's very synonymous in wrestling.
yeah,
So yeah, I agree with that.
and obviously one of the biggest moments in in wrestling history with Hogan and him with that slam that happened in Detroit. Well, technically not Detroit, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. It happened in Michigan. So
Yep.
we got it. At least we have that.
We got that.
So real quick, Doc, before we swing back to you, I'm gonna just read one more comment and then we'll get back. We'll get over to you.
No
So
problem.
last one from Dodge Life. Head out to work, boys. Do graveyard shift in Tahoe. He's an officer. Back to blue. Hey, listen. I say once again, appreciate you. For hanging out with two guys from Michigan, blabbing on about wrestling.
Yep, thank you so much. And as a avid dog lover, that's awesome that you're a canine officer. So yes, thank you very much for commenting and contributing to the show.
Hey, one day we might get to see your canine on the screen.
Yeah, you know what? We heard them earlier. I'm pretty sure when we can listen back to, we heard them a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But
So,
also,
Doc,
just the last thing about the Andre thing is on if you have HBO Max, there is a great special documentary for them. Not sponsored. We're not sponsored, but just letting you know. So check that out. But going back to me then, I guess, let's take a look. So, we actually just mentioned them a little bit earlier, but I have to go with Cesaro.
Okay.
Cesaro, because it's so almost similar in the sense to Sheamus. That's why it's funny that they ended up having their big matches together and they're putting a team together. But Cesaro was always known like pound for pound. One of these guys that literally could take how strong this guy is, and Paul Heyman being put with them, like that was not like an accident. That was Paul Heyman could see it. He could see greatness in this guy, and in a perfect world, he would have been, Intercontinental Champion several times and been and higher up in the card. But then, you have like this gimmick, this like where I'm going to do all these European uppercuts. I'm good at them, but then I do the Cesaro swing. Obviously, that's his, and it's almost like think of like Booker T when he did the Spinaroonie.
Yep.
In WCW, he would do that just when he did like the scissor kick and then get back up. It was never just like a thing to do, like everyone's waiting for him to do. It was so with the Cesaro swing, very entertaining. Don't get me wrong. But it became a thing that well, he's got to do it, and if he doesn't do it, you're like, well, we're just here for the Cesaro swing, It's but with the accomplishments he's had, and actually just recently had more since he debuted in AEW.
Yeah,
he captured the Ring of Honor Heavyweight Championship, so he absolutely deserved it. So I'm hoping that he continues and does well with it. But
his stock is definitely rising.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
And he's finally getting his just due. So which is good for him. So I always say shout out to him.
Absolutely. And another, I was reading some wrestling pages and comments. I always like, wrestling fans can be fun, can be, angry, fickle, but someone said something that made me laugh. So I would love to see, Claudio Castagnoli or, Cesaro on Dynamite doing the Cesaro swing at the end of the show, and then Rampage opens. Technically, it's taped, and he's still doing the Cesaro swing, right? It would just be, come on, tell me how funny it would be, like just to see that happen.
Hey, book it, Tony.
Book it.
Listen, we give y'all free advice out here.
Hey, yep, it's free. Just give us a shout out, and we good to go. So,
one of my favorite. Oh, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Oh no, one of my other favorite Cesaro moments wasn't even in the ring. It was. I remember it was a tag team match. I want to say it was a tag team match on Raw, and they used to do the thing the crowd would do the beach balls, and he went out in the crowd and grabbed the beach ball and basically busted and said, told everybody watch the damn match, and then went back in, and doing that got the crowd, hyped. And once again, and to the wrestling fans out there, remember, y'all paid to see these guys perform, not those stupid balls around. For your own entertainment. You can do that at home. And
it's insane too. And the prices they're not cheap. Tickets aren't cheap, so I don't get it. That's me.
Which is and most of the time, which is weird because normally when you got an actual wrestling show, because there's nothing going, you have no distractions at home. Usually you more paying attention. Usually you enjoy the product better there than you do at home. So yeah, but like I said, shout out to him. His stock is rising, and we finally get to see, what he's fully capable of. Because it's been so long, as far as him being, in WWE. But yeah, I'm looking forward, to his future.
Absolutely. So who do you got? Who do you got next on your list, man?
All right, so we got number 2. And I mean, come on, British Bulldog. I mean,
a British Bulldog. All right,
British Bulldog. Right. Come on. As far as it's the Bulldog, and for the most, guy's awesome. I mean, as a kid, seeing this white dude with braids, with dreadlocks was like, I was like, wait, what's going on? What is this? As a kid, that blew my mind. But then, like all the colors he had, as far as the the Great Britain outfit and whatnot, and then the dude came down with a dog. At that time, gimmick was very important back then, late 80s, early 90s. And my favorite, so obviously this dude has had a lot of moments, in a lot of matches, a lot of great moments, just wrestling. But I'll never forget, I was at my cousin's house, and my dad was coming by, to pick me up and go home. And I can't remember if my cousins, if they were asleep, or I can't remember where my cousins were, or they might have been out and about. I can't remember, but so it was me, my dad, and my uncle James, and we were sitting there watching Saturday Night Main Event. And the main event was him versus Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental belt. And at that time, Bulldog actually, I believe, walked in with the belt. And they put on a clinic for like, I want to say about 20, I want to say about 20, 25 minutes. And I never forget, because Shawn Michaels worked his back the whole match, like just working him. And that fit, I remember that fit because as a kid, I know a lot of people love Shawn Michaels, but I thought he was a prick. So I was like, whatever, this guy sucks. And I remember as a kid, British Bulldog was on the top rope. He was getting ready to do the superplex, but like his back just gave out and he just fell. You know, the Shawn Michaels fell on top of him and got the win. I remember as a kid, I felt so deflated because British Bulldog, who's this dude I looked at as being awesome, basically he fell apart, and then this prick took his belt. And I still haven't forgiven Shawn Michaels for that to this day. No, I'm just kidding.
You'd see him now and be like, I hate you. And there's like, what did I do?
I say, you're the reason why. I say, you're the reason why his back got carpal tunnel after 20 minutes. Yep. Sean, count your days.
And then his back issues, so it's like karma. Karma, buddy. No.
Yep. But yeah, I just remember that Saturday. Once again, it was a Saturday night main event. It wasn't really and the crazy part of the match was it wasn't on a pay-per-view. It wasn't on a WrestleMania. It wasn't, on a Raw, or wasn't on a Raw or nothing like that. It was just on Saturday main event. And yeah, I still remember that match to this day as a kid. But what I would say the man, some people I'm pretty sure if they had a Europe Mount Rushmore for wrestling, I'm sure his face would definitely be on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's not even a question about it. So, and because speaking of the list, and I'll just kind of say it now because I was going to use it like in the last person, but Bulldog was also on my list as well. Oh, yeah. So I just kind of go reiterating the same things that you said.
Hey, just have at it.
Well, yeah, it's just the same thing. Like, look, this guy was a bigger guy too. He wasn't, like you're talking about a match here with Shawn Michaels, who, smaller, a little bit smaller guy, but you got Bulldog who can move. He can move pretty well for a pretty bigger, jacked guy. So, you got the whole Heart Foundation, that training from the wrestling from the, so, he did so well, man. It sucks. It sucks what happened, rest in peace.
Yeah.
But if he could have been, he could have been world champion. He easily could have been.
Yeah, easily.
Man. But yeah, I mean, that's so, I hate giving you a double duty on it, but unless you want me to go to another wrestler, but that was going to be one of mine on my list too.
Well, I think at this point we down to our last wrestler. I think we done our last one apiece, right?
Yes. Yep.
So actually, I'm gonna let you take this one, then I'll go after you.
You got it. So I'm going a little bit. I'm going older school now, just because of how influential he was with wrestling. You got to go with Bruno Sammartino. From Italy. So, I mean, wrestling fan. Most people in general, he's not as synonymous with the complete mainstream as like Andre the Giant, but any wrestling fan, even a little bit, knows that name, knows, WWF champion, the second WWF champion, and only to, Buddy Rogers and whatnot. So it's like, he, with his extreme long title reigns and just his work ethic as a wrestler, because at that point you have true grapple mat wrestling, like the old school times back in the turn of the century, so it's like what he did for that wrestling at that time was huge. Obviously over the years it changed, and then the wrestling game changed to the more flamboyant style of wrestling, like your superstar Billy Graham, who then years later Hulk Hogan would basically mimic his style off of him, so you got the same type of wrestlers. And even to this day, you look at someone like Cesaro and the mat wrestling that he could do, he's, to me, a smaller, more, I hate saying petite, but, version of like Sammartino, grapple wrestling, with a little bit more flair to it. But yeah, what he did for wrestling in general, and also pushing, having the title for so long, giving credibility to this championship. Yeah, I had to have him on the list. There was no question. So when it came to European wrestlers, so
oh yeah, I mean San Martino's definitely a GOAT. It was a 10-year reign as far as WWE champion. I mean, he, some people say that Notorious B.I.G. is king of New York, but when it comes to Madison Square, San Martino, I think San Martino makes a very good makes a very good case to take a run at that name. Because I mean, he was definitely, if not king of New York, he was definitely king of Madison Square.
absolutely, I agree with that, man.
So, but as far as San Martino, yeah, no quite, as far as being number one, yeah, I wouldn't argue against that at all.
I hear you. Looks like we have a couple more chats here. Let's see what we have here. So we got one from Dodge Life again. One last thing before I head out the door: is Cena the GOAT, and will Triple H continue to make Theory into the NXT Cena as Vince was? Well, I'll tell you right now, like the Triple H thing, as we already started seeing, they've kind of been, I hate saying burying Theory, but they are kind of, he's not getting the push that he was before. How would I say that?
Well,
So, and even yesterday on Raw, we have a returning, Gargano came back and he was tag team with them in the NXT with the Way. And he super kicked him, because so, I think Theory's going to lose the Money in the Bank to somebody, and probably a very good match, but he's not going to be the one to cash in my opinion. But what do you think, Sauce?
So as far as the 2-part question, as far as Theory goes, I think eventually they'll get the briefcase off of him and they'll do kind of like a small rebranding of him. I think eventually, don't be surprised if he eventually turns face. And I think that would definitely, the crowd might get behind him a bit more or whatnot because, different personality change. Not necessarily gimmick change. Well, he might do a little bit of gimmick change, but I don't. It's funny when they was talking about the whipping boy for Triple H because I remember when Triple H used to be the whipping boy after the whole Click thing. So, but as far as him becoming the next Cena, nah. As far as that goes, like I understand what you say as far as like how Vince was going to push him, but I think he'll eventually, they basically just kind of reworking him. And I would say Theory, he'll definitely still, by this time next year, I still think that he'll be a strong pillar in today's WWE. And then as far as seeing him being the GOAT, yeah, I'm not mad at that. I would say in the modern day, if you did a modern day Mount Rushmore, as far as just wrestling itself, Cena could definitely be on that Mount Rushmore.
Oh, absolutely. And that's just wrestling by itself, not counting all of his contributions he's done to Make-A-Wish Foundation and in general, just publicity for wrestling and making, pushing wrestling from when WWE became publicly traded. That was a huge deal. A lot of people hate on the idea that it became PG, but if you're a publicly traded company, you got to do something like that. You have investors and stockholders. So yeah, I'm with you on that though.
Yeah, I would say, but yeah, if you to say that Cena is the GOAT, yeah, that's a fair statement. I mean, he's basically, to me, Cena is just a better Hulk Hogan. Much better Hulk Hogan. So
So I think I think you have one more wrestler left, or did you? I can't remember.
Okay. Got one more left. So my number one wrestler, if y'all, as far as we listen to this podcast tonight, it should come no surprise that Papa Regal is definitely my number one. The guy, he's a wrestling machine. Then just as an influence as far as the wrestling itself. Even in WCW, he was the man over there. And then the Attitude Era, he made his gimmick work over, WWE. Then, took a step back, and even as even his GM at Raw, he was, still awesome because he was this annoying, he's the annoying heel manager that you wanted to see get his comings to, and then then after all that, he goes to NXT, as a GM and as an influence, behind the scenes, and I mean his stock just continues to rise, and then at this point, now he's over AEW. The stock is continuing to rise. I mean, he puts together, what on paper could be, good, really dope as a faction with the Blackpool, club, and but overall, like, I mean, like the guy has a hell of a resume as far as his championships goes. I mean, this dude, he was, twice top PWI 500. I think he was like, '03, he was like 190 something, and 94 he was, I want to say, like in top 20. He was a 20-time champion. He was actually a Memphis heavyweight champion. During that time.
Yep.
He was a 4-time WCW TV champion. I would have loved him. I would have loved to see him. Get the what was it? What was the belt they had over there? The Canada belt. The U.S. belt, but
yeah, when Lance Storm, baby,
Lance Storm took it over. I would have loved to see a European with the Canada belt and just gloat about it.
Yeah, that was a good time right there. That's definitely for another episode talking about Canadian wrestlers and the influence there. But yeah, that's kind of funny actually.
And then 5-time hardcore champ. And I don't care what you say about. I don't care what people say about the hardcore champ. A champion belt is still a champion belt. I mean, hardcore champ has definitely done some good, especially for some of the lower mid card wrestlers. 4-time European champion, 2-time Intercontinental champion, 4-time tag team champion, and twice was Lance Storm. He won twice with Lance Storm. And then one time he won with Tajiri, and I can't think of the other time he won.
Oh yeah, Tajiri when they were together, and that shouldn't have worked, and it did. That little team, it worked so well.
And he has the King of the Ring under his belt too.
Oh yeah, and King of the Ring was wasted on certain people, like Billy Gunn was wasted on, and but you have people like the Regal. They brought it back after a hiatus, and it was perfect. It was like meant for them,
Yeah.
So.
But overall, yeah, William Regal, like even when I was younger, even when I was a young wrestling lad, seeing William Regal on the screen, I was like, this guy is smug, and I hope whoever comes out drop kicks him in the face. But I couldn't look away when he came to wrestling though, because like he got in the ring, he did his thing, and he still knew how to wrestle, work the crowd, and I just couldn't look away whenever he was on TV. So yeah, he's definitely my number one because like. Yeah, dude. Yeah, to me, he's the GOAT of Europe.
I'm with you on that, man. That's a good choice. Yeah. That's a really good choice, actually. So, now that being said, like we talked about a little bit earlier with the upcoming shows that we won't really get into too much of because we still have another week or so away from them, week and a half, but. I wanted to ask you about the Clash at the Castle in Cardiff. There's they've already got a pretty good lineup right now, but was there any matches? Was there a match that you're looking forward to? Just in general on that, Sauce?
So mine is probably I would say Rollins versus Riddle. And the main reason why is one, Seth Rollins, he's always a show stealer. This man has went through like 5-6 different gimmick changes, and obviously he still makes it work. But I like what they're doing as far the reason why I'm really intrigued with this match because what they're doing to Riddle now. They're basically kind of going away from like the goofy stoner bro to kind of like how he was in NXT, but like a more aggressive version of his NXT self.
Yeah, I noticed that too. A couple about 3 weeks ago or so, they were starting to do that. They were giving him more of a serious gimmick, and it works. It works really well. So that's gonna be. I think that's gonna be a great match.
And of course, they're going to tear the house down. But I'm interested to see how much Riddle's wrestling changes. Obviously, he's not going to have a whole entire new moveset. But it's gonna be interesting to see with kind of like his more aggressive style, and see like I'm wondering if he's going to start being a bit more stiff.
It's a good point right there. Because you got to look at how the gimmick is. He's still going to be the face going into it because the fans still like Rollins, but he's still like the heel of the situation. So he's going to, I feel like he's going to kind of work it definitely more stiff in the match. So we'll see how that's going to go. It's going to be a good match.
Yeah, I'm sure. But that's just for me. Like, you got anybody you're interested as far as next week?
Absolutely, and that has to be Sheamus versus Gunther. I feel like that match is going to be the showstopper. And like we already talked about stuff with Sheamus and everything, and how he's getting back to kind of his roots with his gimmicks. But the fact that this match is happening, and again, the Intercontinental belt hasn't been defended on a pay-per-view since last WrestleMania. I mean, it's dumbfounding. Obviously, they looked at it in Cardiff. We're going to do it here, but it has to be defended more. And I feel like ever since he's been champion, even the past couple champions, it's the belt's quality has went up so much. It doesn't hurt that Triple H is now kind of running the show now, but I think it's going to be a banger. I honestly think it's going to steal the show. But we'll have to wait and see. And you got two great European wrestlers there.
I can't wait to see the chops. I can't wait to see the chest hammers. Oh yeah, both their chests is gonna be redder than apples by the time that match is over.
I know, right? And they're both they're both pretty white. I mean, Gunther's a little bit darker, but they're
but as far as I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that choice.
Yeah. But so that show's gonna be good, and we're gonna be talking about it, obviously at a later date. But going ahead a little further, we were kind of with every show, on the internet or wherever, you have to kind of evolve, like kind of adding more stuff here and there. And I was thinking, I kind of talked with Sauce about it, and I said, we always like talking with all the different people, like all the different wrestlers, the good, the bad, and every week someone does something good, something that's or memorable, and I feel like we have a new subject, and I like to call it the heat of the week.
Right.
I know as a wrestling fan that might sound like a contradiction, because heat usually it's a bad thing, but in this case, it's like you're on fire, and I like that. So I think each one of us will pick one wrestler during the that we feel like did something memorable, good, for whatever our reasons are. And I'll go. Since I was talking, I'll go first. And honestly, I have to say that it was the returning Kenny Omega at AEW House of the Dragon.
Okay.
Kenny Omega hasn't wrestled in a very long time.
I want to say 7 months.
It's been a while. He missed the Forbidden Door pay-per-view because of injury, he did not want to miss. But seeing him come back, even though he's not 100%, that's the big deal. He's not 100%, but he's going to be wrestling at the All Out pay-per-view with the Young Bucks in the Trios Championship match. But seeing him back was very nice. The fans loved it. It was a good return. So I definitely have to for this week, I have to give it to Kenny Omega. So so
yeah. That's pretty good. That's a good pick, because he's coming back, and obviously this would be a good situation for him being as far as in a trios match, because that's instead of him doing 100% of work as singles, maybe half the work as in the tag team. Now he only has to do 25 to 30% of the work. So it still gives him time to, recuperate. I would have loved to, as far as speaking on Forbidden Door, I would have loved to see him pull like an RVD, like at One Night Stand.
From One Night Stand, yeah,
and just go out there and just cut a quick promo.
I honestly was waiting. I was waiting for it. I expected it.
Actually, and he wouldn't even have to come to the arena to do it. They could have just did like a vignette of it, or like a teaser or whatnot. And they could have just did a video package.
they could have done a video package. It's insane that they didn't. I don't, because if they had just seen them, it would have been such a big, like a nice pop to see it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't do it, but only Kenny Omega knows, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
But so do you have a pick for this week?
Actually, I do.
All right.
I was thinking about it, and I'm gonna go with Triple H. And the reason why is because one, he's coming back. Well, being as creative, once again, like we said a couple weeks ago, people are coming to work, and people are enjoying coming to work now, which means the wrestling is obviously going to improve and get better, which means the product itself will get better. And the other reason why I'm liking Triple H as creative, because now it's causing Tony Khan to have to step his game up. Because you just can't make an announcement every week and then just put a whole bunch of wrestlers together and whatnot, and and just to make yourself stand out. Even though that's kind of what Triple H was doing week by week, he's been kind of doing the Tony Khan approach. But this is in the long term, this would be great for wrestling because it's going to make AEW step their game up, which in return will make WWE step their game up. And Impact, even though they're over there somewhere in the corner, they'll step their game up. Shout out to them.
They're like, hey, what's up, guys? Cool. You want to come here?
And I mean, just for what he's done, just for what he's doing wrestling right now, bringing his vision, basically turning SmackDown Raw into NXT Raw, NXT SmackDown. Giving us a reason to want to watch.
Absolutely, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing to being compared to the black and gold NXT. Yeah. So so that's a good one. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, he's my heat of the week. So
I like it. But so kind of winding down here a little bit. I didn't know if there was any other thoughts that you had in regard to just like I said, the last pay-per-view, or just European, wrestlers, or just their impact, or anything like that, or So what do you? Any kind of like, last, lingering thoughts, Sauce?
So I got two. Definitely looking forward to next weekend. As a wrestling fan, I mean, you can't go wrong with a whole weekend of wrestling. And as far as European wrestlers, listen. As long as Europe keeps producing these guys that I want to watch, I'm not mad at it. It is as far as European, we talked about the European belt earlier. I would love to see them, when they rebrand NXT over there in Europe. Yeah, bring back the European belt. Obviously you got to update it. Once again, Tony, Triple H, whoever, just put a big giant outline of Europe on it, and bam, you're good to go. And
there you go. Hey, I might make a replica. I might make a replica just to show you. Be like, hey, there you go.
Yeah. But I would like to definitely see see the return of the European belt. It would be great over there too. There's the mid-card belt because like Raw, SmackDown. Well, Raw has the US belt, and then NXT has, their own US belt. And then, so I think it's only right that Europe, kind of matches the theme and go with the Europe belt.
Yeah. No, I agree with that for sure.
That's the first that's the first part. And then the second part is, got some tickets for SmackDown Friday. So definitely excited about that. And the
nice. That's this Friday.
Yep.
Oh, nice. All right.
Because in my mind, I was kind of hesitant. I'm like, wait, is this the go home show? Because I really don't want to pay to see that in person. Because usually when it comes to go home show, they basically, it's just a filler episode. I don't want to pay for that. But what I'm really looking forward to about it is my pops, my dad. Yeah, he's never been to an actual wrestling show. He loves wrestling. He's never, like, for some reason, I don't know why, he's never been to an actual wrestling show.
Oh, he's gonna have so much fun then. That's
so.
Cool.
This is a surprise to him. So yeah,
nice.
He doesn't. I just told him don't make plans Friday. At this point, I'm just trying to sell it as a Lions game. So and then he'll put two and two together. Wasn't like, wait, Lions don't play here.
They don't.
But and also Also, and then with the I got the what they call it, the mezzanine seats, where
Mm-hmm.
it's that where it's like you just like this what they call them not necessarily like the cramp seats that Little Caesars
Oh,
has.
you got like the open seating.
Yeah, the
Is it like
open seats.
open?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, those are the best seats. You gotta get
yeah,
you gotta get those seats every time because
yeah.
the
So
cramp seats. I'm sorry, but I'm like, let's what's up, guys? I'm like,
yeah, like because my dad's 6'2", and I don't want his first wrestling experience to be one where he's sitting there cramped.
right.
You know, so I think have him get a chance to enjoy. My goal is just want him to enjoy himself. So that But as
Very
far as
cool.
yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
pretty much it. European wrestling, and shout out to my dad.
There we go. Shout out.
Well,
But so I mean, that's a pretty cool way to. I'm not gonna lie, that's a pretty cool way to kind of send it off there. But I mean, unless you got anything else, I think that's a pretty good episode. I think we did a pretty good
oh
job,
yeah,
and we could talk for hours about the influences of European wrestling, but then it's just the whole globe has so many different wrestlers, and again, another episode for Asian influence, Mexican influence, the Canadian influence, stuff like that. So there's just so many different wrestlers as opposed to just American, Canadian. But now you have all the different countries in Europe. So
oh yeah,
I
it's
mean,
coming. So
we talked about today people from France, Belgium, Italy, Ireland, England, of course, Switzerland, Croatia. That's crazy. It's so yeah, it's Austria as well because Gunther, he's from
yeah,
Austria. So, but that being said, yeah, they keep up a good work and they make a good TV. They make good TV. That's all I gotta say.
yeah. I'll be excited when NXT Europe when basically NXT goes back to Europe. So it'll be an exciting time when that happens.
I think so too, man. But I think, but like I said, I think we're going to kind of call the night here, and definitely, catch if you comment, like everything, subscribe, of course, and make sure to catch us next week as we're getting ready for the big wrestling weekend next weekend. So, but I'm Dr. Love. That's Sauce Bronson, the boss with the sauce, as I should say. And everyone have a great night and stay cool.
Hey, I say once again, thanks for spending your evening with us, and have a good night and be good.